One of the hottest trends on YouTube right now is ordering these damn random mystery boxes from complete strangers on the deep web and opening them on camera. I don't know why I didn't realize a clear majority of these videos are fake and staged for their scare factor, but I didn't. I thought it was a great idea and hopped on the bandwagon to claim my YouTube stardom that I desperately longed for. For those who don't know a lot about the deep web, it's simply a part of the internet that isn't accessible from your basic Chrome, Firefox, or Internet Explorer search engines. You must download the encryption program Tor in the Tor browser for starters. It's not illegal to access this part of the internet, but since it is anonymous, a great deal of illegal actions happen here. The possibilities are endless. I grabbed my laptop I've had since I graduated in 2011 and downloaded the required programs. I prefer to use my laptop over my desktop in case of viruses and such. My 7-year-old laptop is a little more disposable. I had a little Bitcoin phase a few years ago when I was blowing up, so I had a little saved already. It wasn't much, only 0.1 Bitcoin, which translates to roughly $632, but it was enough for what I was looking for. After the downloads were finished, I opened the browser and started my journey at the Hidden Wiki website. They provide a lot of useful links to get you started on the deep web. I scrolled through the warnings and gists of what it is and found the links I was looking for. Almost forgot, I muttered to myself as I grabbed the duct tape from my drawer. I cut a tiny square piece off the end and placed it over my webcam. Call me paranoid, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. I clicked on the first link and waited what seemed like forever for the page to load. It was another very plain page with a list of popular websites that you could scroll through on the side. I continued my search through the web links until I found a page dedicated to mystery boxes. I wanted to find one around $500 so people knew I meant business on my channel. These were relatively small, staying around the 0.125 to 0.5 Bitcoin range. I was worried about being scammed. I decided to continue my search after a quick bathroom break. When I came back, I noticed my cursor was off to the side and I was able to click on the link that must have matched the background color of the web page because I couldn't see it. I indulged in my curiosity and hit the link. I was taken to a pitch black page with small white text near the top. I'm selling one random package to any brave enough to receive it for only 0.12 Bitcoin, our best offer. Only one, huh? I thought to myself. I hit the small payment button and was asked how much I'd like to spend. I entered 0.1 Bitcoin with fingers crossed. The payment went through without any hesitation and I was instantly met with a chat box asking where I'd like my package sent. I know this wasn't a good idea and I regret it to this day, but the other YouTube channels use their own address often, so I thought nothing of it. I gave them my home address. I waited over a month for the box to come in, 36 days to be exact. It arrived directly on my front porch and was wrapped numerous times in red tape. I set my camera on the tripod and adjusted it to show me in the box on the small wooden table. I draped a sheet in the background so it looked a little more professional. I collect some gloves and scissors so I can begin the video. Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's vlog. Boy, do I have a surprise for you. I continue my monologue mentioning how I got the box and how I paid for it. Without wasting further time, let's open this deep web mystery box. I grab the scissors and cut along the red tape. I make sure my gloves are on tight, and I rip the box open. My brow frowns as I see just one book. Without saying a word, I take the book out of the box. I was pretty pissed. I spent over $600 on a book. Well, folks, looks like we got a dud. These pages better be made of gold. The outside of the book was old and tattered, and it smelled of mildew and mold. I cracked the book open to the first page and glanced over the contents. It's an old photo album. Smells of old rot. Let's look at these pictures. I show the camera a view of the page's contents. It has 4 pictures on the front page, all labeled by days. The first picture said day 1, the second day 2, and so on. The pictures were taken with an old Polaroid camera. There were pictures of airplanes, random suitcases, a couple of taxis, and some pretty shady motels. Looks like someone's old traveling photos. I continue flipping through the pages. Every day was a different photo of nature or cars or trains. Day 18 held the oldest photo yet. It was just a mask, handcuffs, a gag, and a bottle of some sort of drug. These people have one hell of a fetish. I try to keep the video interesting. I zoom into the picture with the camera so everyone can see it. Around day 32, things start getting weird. There are pictures of a house, but not just any house. It was of the house I grew up in, my parents' house. My hand covered my mouth as I gasped for air. How is this? I'm unable to form a sentence. I'm at a loss for words. Day 33, I turn the page and see a man and a woman handcuffed and gagged. I immediately expel the contents of my stomach as I see my own mom's scared and crying face and my dad, face first, in a pile of what looked like black tar. Day 34. This photo is taken inside what looks like a vehicle. I focus my gaze onto the dashboard, where a small photo is barely visible, as an old school photo of me there in my dad's truck. Day 35. Another house, but this one much smaller. The photo is too blurry to make out the details. My hands are trembling, and all I can hear is my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I flip to the last page. I immediately throw the book to the ground and run to the window. I jiggle the hatch frantically and throw it open. Without hesitation, I jump out and run to the neighbors. As I'm running, I turn around for a brief second. What I saw haunts me to this day. A tall, hooded figure stood there in my room, looking at me through the window. He stood motionless before lifting his hand and waving. I screamed for my neighbor, who hurried me inside and called the cops. I sat and just cried. I cried out of fear for my life. I cried for my parents. I cried because it was all my fault. My lack of common sense got my parents killed, and I will have to live with that forever. If you access the deep web, do not release any personal information. Even if people on YouTube do it, most of it's not real, and always check your boxes. It would have saved me a lot of trouble if I would have noticed that the box I received had no tracking sticker on it. It was hand-delivered. When I was 12, I got into hacking and I loved it, and I'd gotten quite good at it. But my arrogance caused my unbecoming. You see, I was browsing some forum and I came across something labeled the dark web. I was overcome with curiosity, so I clicked on it. The post covered everything from what it is to how to access it. I was arrogant enough to think that I won't get caught and proceed to download Tor browser with no extra precautions and started browsing. All of a sudden, my laptop crashed. It froze and I got hundreds of pop-ups warning me of a virus. Then I shut it down. I stared in awe as I turned it back on, only with the green light turned on where my camera is. Someone was watching. I got an anonymous message on Skype that read, "You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Who are you?" I responded, while panicking and covering my camera with my thumb. "Your new friend." And then the chat just suddenly disappeared. I formatted my laptop and made sure there were no remaining malware or viruses, and had a quiet couple of days after that. And I was pretty relieved because I thought I had defeated him, but sadly, I would come to know that that wasn't the case. A week later, I was getting dressed in my room and was completely naked when I got a text on my phone that had no caller ID on it. It said, "Come closer." Who is this? The text message didn't faze me, yet I thought it was a wrong number or one of my friends pranking me. Come closer. Closer to what? I was sure it was my friend messing with me at this point. To the camera. Huh? Which camera? Okay, which one of you assholes is this? I was confused, but I had told my friends about the incident a couple of days ago or so after the anxiety growing within me. I was consciously trying to convince myself that this was a prank. I walked up to my laptop still naked, and the light by the camera wasn't on. I know you're either Joey or Zach. I put down my phone and got dressed. My phone started vibrating uncontrollably. I had gotten 16 pictures, all of me, all naked. I screamed and threw my phone, ultimately breaking it against my screen. I went off the grid completely after that. No social media, no internet for a solid year. It was mortifying, especially for a 12-year-old girl. When I got back on, I had no issues and no worrying signs, and I was relieved until almost 4 years later, 16 at the time. I'd gotten a new laptop and was at my boyfriend's house. We were studying together when it turned on into a makeout session. I heard my laptop ding multiple times and had gotten annoyed and turned around to see what it was. I guess I must have looked like I had seen a ghost because my boyfriend started panicking and shaking me. It was him. He's back, or maybe he's never left. I started rewinding memories of all the times I have been undressing with my laptop on every time I have shared something private during the Skype call and started having a panic attack. His message read, "Don't forget to use protection," as if I couldn't smell the irony in that. He then continued to harass me for the next 2 years, but it's been quiet for a year now, until about 4 years ago. I got a text that read, "Let me in," and then I heard a knock at my door. My door was locked and deadbolted, so there's no way I'm leaving my apartment. It's safe in here. I called the police 3 hours ago and no one has shown up. I called again 30 minutes ago and still nothing. I called my boyfriend hours ago too, and he said he's on his way, but he's not answering his phone. I need to buy myself off of the deep web before someone else does. I don't know how much time I have. I saw the offer hours ago. The only thing I can do is tell you how it all happened upon myself. It's stupid, really. Really fucking stupid. I was trying to impress my friends. We were all enrolled in IT classes at our school. We had taken turns seeing who could bring up the most fucked up shit we could find. It started out with showing our friends websites on the deep web people could buy drugs from. Drugs we had never even heard of. That got boring really quick. Other friends began upping their content to try and stand out in the game. I'm more tech savvy than you. They would bring more pictures, each more disturbing and gruesome than the last. Pictures of people dying, people being raped and tortured in unimaginable ways, people that were already dead. One person brought up a CP site, CP snuff site, instead of people saying exactly how fucked up this was and how this should all stop and how this should have never began in the first place and how stupid this was, how much danger we were in. They congratulated her, gave her pats on the back, asked her how she could even sit down properly in her computer chair because of how big her balls were. I felt like vomiting. I felt like beating the ever-living shit out of everybody that could not believe how fucked up it was to see finding CP stuff on the internet as an accomplishment. I did not say anything, though. They began to notice that I never showed off anything myself. Pussy slowly became my new nickname at school. School became a living hell for me. My friends began shoving these horrible pictures in my face whenever they could, and when I cried and vomited, they claimed that they were trying to desensitize me. Everything became too much, though. I promised myself I would not venture too deep, that I would only stay long enough to find something that would appease them. At this point, we were long past the point of finding cool drugs or what else. I knew I had to find something that would hold importance. At this point, I had been on the deep web for 3 hours. 5 hours was what it took to put an offer for me on the deep web. At one point, I remember opening a seemingly blank web page. Immediately, the light next to my computer camera flashed briefly. 5 or so seconds. I minimized my browser to close photo booth. only to find that it wasn't even open. I didn't think much of it. I was tired and had school the next day, so I closed everything and went to sleep. The next few days went the same as the last until yesterday. When I walked in, everyone was huddled around one desk, talking in hushed voices. A few of the girls were crying, and all of them were pale and covered in sweat. I didn't want to see whatever had caused this reaction. Nobody noticed that I had walked in until after class was over. I caught several of them staring at me during the class. They had probably planned a new way to make me go home sobbing. I tried to leave class as quickly as I could, but one of them caught me by the shoulder and spun me around. "We need to talk." His voice was quivering, and his clammy, trembling hands were soaking through my shirt. He led me to the back of the classroom, where other students in the same shape as him, or worse, were huddled. He began passing out pictures. When it was my turn, I told them that I didn't want to see whatever they had. Something about the way he said it told me that this was serious, and it wasn't just a regular bullying. I cracked open one eye. I saw a girl on the paper, along with some sort of description and a price. I opened my eyes further and saw that it was an ad of some sort. I thought, oh, this isn't that bad. It had not fully hit me yet until I read what was in the description. "Hi, it's me again, back with some more for you guys. This one looks fairly young, with a bit of an extra weight on her. I don't know, I need more pictures. I think it was her first time here. She wasn't protected at all. It was so easy. Enough about that though. For now, her starting price is $118,000. We'll go up or down when we get more pictures and do some physical inspection. Anyway, we'll keep you updated." There was a picture of me, staring at my computer intently. I had no social media. The only pictures of me were ones that I had taken with a group. There were so many emotions swirling through me. One that stood above all was confusion. The crippling fear was lurking in the shadows for now. How had this person gotten this picture of me? My mind went back to when the light next to my computer turned on. One question answered. Next, the paralyzing fear set in. I felt my heart stop completely, then beat violently in my throat and ears. My stomach dropped. My eyes searched furiously over the paper for any information about me. I felt relief at the fact that my full name, along with my address, wasn't there. That all came crashing down when I realized that the person who had posted the ad had these, but chose not to put them in the description in case anybody wanted to grab me without paying. I knew without a doubt that the others were going to be sold too. I passed out. I woke up in the nurse's office, who told me I had a fever. My mom picked me up and took me home. I went straight to my room and locked the door. I haven't touched my personal computer since. I put tape over my phone camera, even though I know my efforts are futile. Everything I hear now is someone out to get me. The only sick thing that comforts me now is that the pretty bitches that made me do this in the first place are going to sell quicker than me. I took a break a few days ago before I decided to go back in the true red rooms. I paid my Bitcoin and got sent a new password. It took a few days before they sent it to me, along with another username. I guess this is how they managed to keep it so secretive, so that way people couldn't be tracked. I put in my username and password on the first page. This particular red room, number 2, brought you to another page that asked for my password. So instead of one page, it went through 2. I guess for extra protection. A bright red screen flashing big bold black letters read, "Live Dissections Incorporated." Underneath the black box was a list of IP addresses that were recorded. Beside each one of them were the words "permitted" or "banned." I assume some people abused their privileges on this site or possibly tried to hack it. They wanted those people to know they were being watched. As for the rules written on the site, they were simple. You can pick and choose from a list of surgical tools. There were cranium drills, bone saws, rib knives, and all types of cutting and dissecting instruments. The list went on and on. You must keep paying Bitcoin to keep playing. You communicate what you want done to the victim through the chat box. You are not allowed to chat with other users or make comments to them. 5 users popped up in the chat box, including me. Your waiting time is 5 minutes popped up on the black screen. Then the live stream began to start. I took a deep breath. A man who is obviously sedated is laying in what looks like an old green dentist chair. He is in a blue hospital gown. His wrists and ankles are strapped down. 2 people in doctor scrubs and masks were injecting him in the arm with 2 different needles. Then the message started popping up on the chat box. One user typed, "I want to see an amputation of the arm, please." Another said, "Drill his head open and pull his skin down over his face like they do with autopsy." Another user wanted a complete organ dissection. Other users typed in foreign language that I couldn't understand. I could clearly see the poor man had labored breathing. They must have had him really sedated. All these people were sickly betting on what they wanted to see. The surgery that went on was the arm amputation. I was glad that I would not have to view the other 2. I don't think I could have stomached it. The user CDeadRiser 5893 must have paid the most Bitcoin. I saw one of the surgeons grab a scalpel as cameras zoomed in. Then he began to cut through the man's hairy arm right above the elbow. Yuck, the guy was alive, and dark red blood started gushing out of his arm onto the floor. You could see the muscles twitching underneath as the camera zoomed in on the pink, fleshy, bloody mess. Now CDeadRiser 5893 was typing in the chat box, "Yes, oh yes, this is fucking amazing. I'm getting off right here on this shit." What looked to be a huge towel or gauze pad was placed between the cut open tissue and stuck in completely through the arm. You could see it hanging out the other side. The hairs on my neck began to stand up. He then began to move it back and forth through the tissue in a sawing motion. He was cutting the remaining attached tendons and ligaments, I guess. Suddenly the man started to wake up and moan in pain. His eyes looked like a bit squinty. He looked down and literally passed out. They injected him again with the needle. I wanted to look away. Another user named Urgent Surge 666, who seemed to know all the steps of an amputation type, used the bone saw and cut it off. Now what looked like to be a bone saw was picked up. It looked very eerie, with its shape, little teeth like points. The surgeon gave a thumbs up to the camera and began to saw straight through. The saw hummed as I could see, little particles of white bone going into the air. Scissors were used to finish cutting away the globs of flesh still left in place, and just like the arm was pulled away, the surgeon tossed it towards the camera. It hit the ground with a loud splat. I wanted to turn the computer off. Our victim was now an amputee. There was a lot of blood coming out. The victim started turning as ashen gray color. This guy was going to die and bleed out. Do you want the artery to be clamped off, or do you want him to bleed out? Popping on the message in the chat box. One person typed no, and CDeadRiser 5893 said, "Let him bleed out, man. He's not gonna want to wake up after all this." I couldn't believe how casual he was about leading this man to his impending death. I found myself yelling at my computer, "Clamp it off! Clamp it off!" I knew if I wanted results, I would have to pay more Bitcoin, so I did. I typed in "clamp it, save his life." I was this poor guy's lifeline, while he was at the mercy of a bunch of crazy people who wanted him dead. My heart was beating out of my chest. I was sweating, about to have a panic attack. "Kelly clamps," shouted the surgeon. I felt relief as he clamped the bleeding artery off. Thank God. Then the nub was dressed with gauze to stop the extra bleeding. Then the worst part was when the guy finally woke up. He was laying there for about 15 minutes and the surgeons were slapping him on the face and laughing. He was coming to in shock. I could see the surgeons undoing the straps and helping him sit up. How the hell could they just laugh at this guy after what they just did to him? They almost killed him and took a part of his body away for no good damn reason. For what? All for the expense of someone else's pleasure? It made me sick. The man looked down, and his eyes bulged out. He looked to be in disbelief. "My arm!" he shouted, with a hoarse-sounding voice. I could see the nub moving, as if he was trying to figure out where his arm went. His mouth hung wide open. The surgeons were patting him on the back. He began to cry. One of the surgeons motioned for the camera to be shut off. Everything went black. The live stream was over. I shuddered. Unfortunately, I still had 3 more rooms to go.